Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about ugly privilege. Now, I have made a video in the past discussing pretty privilege and whether it exists or not. Spoiler alert, it does exist. And I basically went into it in one of my older videos, so I will link that in the description box down below. Be sure to watch that as well to understand the opposite side of this particular topic. Ugly privilege, right? You might be thinking, how can you have privileges if you are ugly? I thought all of the privileges came for people who were conventionally attractive. And to be honest, I kind of thought the same thing. I did mention in my pretty privilege video that I would make a whole video about ugly privileges. So this is that video. And pretty privilege, while it does have its benefits or its privileges, it also comes with its long list of problems. Things that pretty people have to deal with on a regular basis that maybe there's a plane flying above my head. There are things that pretty people have to deal with that someone who is not conventionally attractive or quote unquote ugly never has to deal with. Those are your ugly privileges, essentially. So, for example, pretty people have, while they may have a lot of their life easier, they might have, people be nicer to them, they might experience better customer service, they might even get higher paying jobs, all because they're more conventionally attractive. There is also the flip side of they end up facing a lot of harassment, they get unwanted attention, they deal with catcalling, they also have this strange problem of people just thinking that they're dumb or that they're just a pretty face, that there's nothing in their head and it's all just that they're pretty and that's about it, that's all they're good for. And also this pressure, this constant pressure to uphold their prettiness, making sure that they constantly stay pretty or perfect and adhering to society's conventionally attractive standard. Obviously that's really stressful. You have to make sure your skin's always perfect, your hair's perfect, your body's perfect, and teeth are perfect. Like, this all takes a lot of effort, and it's something that can be very emotionally and physically draining if all your worth is tied to your physical appearance. While people may want to be conventionally attractive, there is this whole second side of it that a lot of people fail to understand, or they fail to acknowledge it altogether because they're just like, this person is so pretty, how could they possibly be complaining about anything? Which I think is exceptionally ignorant to say, but that is a truth that a lot of people feel. Like, if a pretty person says that they're struggling with something like depression, people are less likely to take that seriously because they would be like, what the hell do you have to be depressed about? Like, you're so pretty, you have the perfect body, like you have perfect hair, perfect teeth, perfect eyes, like what could you possibly be depressed about? A lot of times they face this constant wall of them trying to discuss certain things and people not taking them seriously. This can also come into the fact that pretty people are usually deemed as dumb, that it doesn't matter how intellectually smart a person is, they will always, if they are physically attractive, they will always be considered dumb. Or the fact, like humor as well, people tend to prefer less attractive people as comedians. I don't know why. It's almost like maybe it's the idea that if someone is attractive and funny, then maybe it's too much for our puny little brains to comprehend and we might spontaneously combust. I have no idea, but yeah, usually people tend to find less attractive people funnier. So ugly privileges are basically just that. People online have basically been discussing how they're taking advantage of their ugly privileges and what exactly being ugly, like how being ugly has opened up new doors to them in their life. So I have seen many TikToks on women discussing because they're ugly, they can go for a walk at night because they don't have the fear of being kidnapped or assaulted or harassed. Nobody's catcalling them, which I think, to pause and add in a little bit, I think that's a really toxic and insensitive message to be putting out there, because I don't think people who kidnap and who harass women are thinking that far into it. You know, I think they're acknowledging the surroundings more as to whether you're alone, is there anybody near you, can anybody see anything. I think that goes into their head more. I don't know, but I think that's a really weird thing to flex. I don't know. So women online have been discussing that their ugly privileges have allowed them to, you know, basically walk around freely without the fear or this constant thought of, oh my god, the guy is going to come and talk to me. And it's a really interesting thought, because a lot of the women that are talking about their ugly privileges are not even ugly to begin with. And I think the word ugly is really harsh. First and foremost, if you look at the dictionary definition, it's a bit harsh. And in this day and age, I don't think anybody is truly ugly. If I was to discuss it, I think someone becomes ugly if their personality is ugly, right? Like if they're just a piece of shit as a person, like then they would be considered ugly. So a lot of the women discussing ugly privileges are not ugly, they're just not society's standard of attractive. They're not conventionally attractive. What I also feel is that, sure, it allows women to accept themselves. It also allows them to be a little bit more free. A lot of women have expressed that they feel freedom in being ugly, in the sense that just like how pretty people feel this constant pressure to uphold their prettiness and keep it intact and to never age, and ugly people have mentioned that they don't have that.
I love just being absolutely ugly sometimes. Like, look at these pants. You're dragging. But I feel so free. Like, I feel so good today because I'm just like free, and I'm not being perceived. I'm just being ugly and being seen in the background, and I can do whatever I want. Like I'm just existing.
They just focus on bettering themselves. They get perceived as smarter. People take them more seriously. There was this one video I watched on TikTok where this girl was mentioning how when she was quote unquote ugly, people took her more seriously and they listened to what she had to say, and they actually took into account the points she was making, and she was deemed and turned overall as smarter. Whereas as she got older, she became pretty. She's like, my brain didn't change. I was still smart. I still am smart, but people have stopped taking me seriously. People stopped listening to me. People stopped acknowledging my point.
I used to be ugly, and even as I got prettier, I realized I still couldn't win. Here are my credentials. Oh, this is a favorite. Yep. When I was ugly, I got made fun of, I got asked out as a joke, I was treated like I was invisible, but I was still taken seriously. People automatically assumed that due to my lack of appearance, I had something else going for me. Which was true, I was smart, but I didn't get any less smart as I got prettier. And in pursuit of better treatment, I started working on my appearance, I started working on my hygiene, and I got that better treatment, but the intention behind said treatment was much more superficial. And the closer I got to the conventional beauty standard, the more my appearance would validate who I was internally, and also diminish it. People would take my opinion and consider it, but it suddenly meant less because of the mouth it came out of.
Also, in terms of like comedy, uglier people tend to do a bit better. A lot of times in more intellectual fields, ugly people have the upper hand. I hate using the word ugly over and over again, but I cannot keep saying conventionally attractive, conventionally unattractive. Like pretty and ugly are easy words to say. So that's why, please do not get offended by my overuse of the word ugly, and also don't play that drinking game. Take a shot every time she says ugly, you will be completely gone. So don't do that. Furthering this whole career-based aspect of this topic, there's a big aspect of actresses who are conventionally attractive taking on ugly roles to get taken more seriously in the industry. Now, if you look at actresses like Megan Fox, who have basically just played like bombshell characters all the time, that's what they've been typecast as, that's what they have been labeled as, that's just the role that they play. It's really hard to take her seriously if she ever does a role which isn't the bombshell hot girl kind of role, right? And obviously other actresses have caught on. Like if you take Charlize Theron ugly. If you take her for example, she's obviously a very beautiful woman. She took the role of Eileen Wuornos, the first female serial killer in the movie titled Monster, and that got her an Oscar. And that was like her taking on an ugly role. Like, she was not conventionally attractive in the role of Eileen. Or if you take Margot Robbie for example, sure, Margot Robbie has played the bombshell characters like in Wolf of Wall Street and Suicide Squad as well, where she's kind of that like sexy blonde girl. But to avoid being typecast in that role, she also took roles like Mary Queen of Scots and also I think Tonya Harding, the ice skating film. I think it was titled I, Tonya. She took these roles where she was not considered attractive in order for the industry to take her more seriously. So this is something, right? Like, if you are conventionally attractive, people take you less seriously, and they don't consider you to be a heavy hitter in the industry that you are in. So a lot of times people are making themselves ugly. I think also the rise of just everybody having access to plastic surgery, Botox, fillers, all of these things have in turn made a lot of people look the same. We are seeing the same face on everyone and we are just getting bored, and maybe that's why people in the limelight are finding this urge to make themselves stand out. Why are people doing this, right? It's to stay memorable, it's to stay relevant. And how does that come about? It's not from being pretty all the time, it's from being ugly sometimes. And also to make career growths, especially in the entertainment industry. It's so interesting to think about that you work so hard to be deemed as pretty, and now all of a sudden it's like for people to make the next step in their career or to be taken seriously, they now have to worry about being ugly. I think we just need to focus on being ourselves. You know, like, our perception of what is ugly has been completely warped by these unrealistic beauty standards that have been put onto us. So ugly a lot of the times isn't even ugly, they're just average regular people. Like, they look like someone you could walk past on the street and you wouldn't be like, oh my god, in either way. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh my god, they're so attractive, or oh my god, ugly. They're just average people, but that all of a sudden has been deemed as ugly now. Basically, I just wanted to discuss this because I found it really like funny, not in an ironic way, but I think women are now accepting that it's okay if you're not conventionally attractive. Being ugly also has its privileges. So yeah, I think that's it for this week's video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think ugly privilege is real, and have you ever experienced it? And what are your thoughts? Just tell me your thoughts on everything in the comment section down below. And yeah, I think that's it for this week's video. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.